Hey, good afternoon. Scott Luton, Greg White with you here on Supply Chain Now. Greg, how are we doing today?
I am stoked, Scott. I cannot wait for this episode. This is someone we talk about all the time. We hold up as a leader, and I know she's going, oh my gosh, what do I have to live up to? But look, the beauty of it is just being her is enough. And what an incredible example of leadership. I won't say any more than that.
Excellent. Well, Saturday Night Live used to have a skit entitled Bill Brasky, and it was folks around the bar kind of telling these big tales about this legendary figure called Bill Brasky. And in the seventh or eighth skit, in that same season, he shows up. Bill Brasky shows up, and it's kind of what we have here today. Sandra McQuillan with Mondelez International is here with us live here momentarily. So stay tuned for what promises to be one of our best live streams in recent memory. So, all right. So, Greg, let's do a little housekeeping before we roll out the red carpet. You ready?
Let's do. Yes. Got my duster.
So Monday on the Supply Chain Buzz, we featured a home run guest in Elliot Page with one of the world's leading, busiest, most successful airports, key supply chain infrastructure, Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport. So today we published the replay of that episode. So you can find that wherever you get your podcast from. Be sure to subscribe for free so you don't miss a single conversation, right?
Ton of incredible knowledge there. We got to come full circle on a discussion we had prior to COVID about some freight expediting techniques that this airport is using, and man, were they put to the test, were they not?
He took any question, any question the folks had. Elliot he is a smooth operator. So y'all check out that episode. We invite you to re-listen to that conversation, and we just published our latest webinar. This is going to be a cool one, Greg. We've done hundreds of webinars going back for years. This is the first time in recent memory that we've really focused on supply chain security, especially in that ICT space, information and communications technology. So critical discussion to be had, right?
Well, as we start to branch out into all things business, right? Not just supply chain, but digital transformation in all of this is a huge part of the supply chain. We're constantly talking about security and communication. So this is a huge part of the supply chain and will come into greater focus as the supply chain has found greater, limelight, right, in industry.
Well said. And of course, Kevin L. Jackson will be leading the session. He leads our digital transformer series, and we've partnered with the voice of that industry, the Telecommunications Industry Association, TIA, to bring that to you. So y'all check that out. You can register for free. You can go to the website. It's already been published, and join us. And then finally, our nonprofit Making It Happen for second quarter that we want to spotlight is good360.org. Right, Greg?
We learned a lot about product in philanthropy with our good friend Claudia Freed, right, and her organization. And Good 360 is a broader based initiative, a very similar thing, taking products that are cast offs or surplus and putting them to good use for people in need. Incredible impact that they're having around the globe.
Agreed. $700 million in product distributed to families and folks in need in 2020 alone. 37-year track record. Check them out, good360.org, and they're doing great work. Okay, well, let's say hello to a few folks, and then we're going to welcome in our wonderful guests here today. Let's see here. Rhonda is here early today. Usually she joins about halfway through. Great to see you.
And what time is it in Phoenix? 9 o'clock.
She gets a check by her name.
Yes, that's right. Present.
Rose is with us via LinkedIn. Great to see you, Rose. Kuldeep is also via LinkedIn. Great to see you here today. Peter Bollet, and he's everywhere. He's managing projects. He's talking supply chain, talking leadership. Welcome today, Peter. Srinivas is back. Hello again from India.
Hey.
Srinivas, we were talking a couple times this week about the food delivery. I want to say not Babawala's. Well, I'm getting a name
In
wrong.
India?
Yes, in Mumbai in
Oh.
particular. And it's one of the most efficient logistics organizations on the globe.
Really?
Yes. Harvard did a study back in 2010, I believe, and they officially deemed them that they were operating at a Six Sigma rate of performance. And companies,
in 2010.
yes.
It must be stellar by now.
Richard Branson, one of your favorites, flew in
Yep.
and spent a whole day with the. I've got to look up Amanda. See if you can shoot me that name. I want to get it right, but fascinating. So anyway, Srinivas, welcome to the conversation. Great to have you here via LinkedIn. Let's see here, Kavan the wordsmith and the practitioner.
The new abnormal.
That's right. Ben Harris. I'm glad someone else recognized that skit from SNL. So great to have you back with us, Ben. Clay, of course, Clay and Amanda behind the scenes, along with Allie, that's making it happen, producing today's episode. Daba Wallace, not Baba Wallace, Daba Wallace.
Oh, okay.
That's the phrase, the system. Clay says I was close. Messed around with a few consonants there.
You got the Waller right.
The Hang is with us, I believe, from China for a third or fourth live stream. Great to see you via LinkedIn. And hello to everyone else. We got an awesome conversation teed up here today. So with no further ado, Greg, are we ready to get down to work?
Well, I'd love a little more ado since it's about Sandra, but no, let's let her talk.
All right. On that note, let's welcome in Sandra McQuillen, Executive Vice President and Chief Supply Chain Officer with Mondelez International.
Hey. Swooshed in.
That's right. Sandra, such a pleasure to have you back. Not only, there's several check boxes here. We love our repeat guests, but we love even more so repeat guests that are, as Greg was saying on the pre-show, indeed legendary. Folks, that influence a word, as we talk about a lot, is thrown around all over the place these days. You've got those, but then you got folks that when they speak and weigh in on issues, the world truly listens. And of course, that's the category you're in. So Sandra, welcome to Supply Chain Now.
No pressure, Sandra.
No pressure at all.
Well, you know what? We're gonna make that pressure evaporate because we're gonna have a little bit of fun on the front end.
Yeah.
So, Greg, we had a great conversation yesterday with Mike Griswold. We were talking beer because yesterday, Sandra, I didn't know this until we were doing a little homework. Yesterday was National Beer Day. So, to start with the tough questions first, tell us, what is your favorite beer or adult beverage?
It's a stout, actually, and it's Guinness.
Oh my gosh.
I love a pint of Guinness, and it's a pint, not a half. I love a pint of Guinness.
There you go.
I mean, I married an Irishman anyway, so I was always bound to be there. But also, I think it's medicinal because it has so much iron in it. So I clearly take it for the health benefits, not for the.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Of course you do. And the shot of Jameson while you wait for the foam to dissipate, also medicinal.
What are you talking about, Greg?
Well, one more follow-up question before we kind of change gears. I think my father-in-law has about 12 different locations around their property. It's perfect for drinking adult beverage. Is there one place that comes to mind where you've really enjoyed that pint of Guinness?
Yes, actually. And this is actually in my pool, floating on the pink flamingo. That's exactly because the sun just comes in nicely and it's not too hot, but it's very relaxing. And if I'm lucky, I can have the Guinness in one hand and I can have a book in another. And that's just lovely. So.
Love it. All right, Greg, where are we going next?
Can I give an opinion? Because I love Guinness as well.
Yeah.
The two brewers in Windsor, up at the top of the hill, just before you get to the Long Walk in Windsor, if you've ever been there, Sandra.
Yes, I have. Yeah.
We had our office down right on the Thames, right before you cross the bridge into Eton. And I felt like it was good exercise because it was uphill all the way to two brewers and quite a long walk.
Yeah, so you're working it off before you drink it. It's great.
That's right. That's right. And then on the way back, it's downhill, so it's stumbling distance. And we had gotten so familiar with the pub keeper there that I had a very, very particular place that I sat, and it was next to the fireplace. So he would make me stoke the fire with coal.
Okay.
In the fireplace, but that makes a Guinness. Coal And iron does make Guinness taste quite a lot better.
It's great. I do. I love going back to I've actually been to the Guinness factory in Dublin, which was amazing, because it's also amazing from an automation point of view in terms of what you don't see it really, but then you get to taste it afterwards, which was really cool.
Well, so let's talk about the perfect time to drink a Guinness in the States, particularly, I think, which is spring, because it's such a heavy beer or stout that it's perfect for a little bit cooler weather, but it does give you that little ray of sunshine. So spring is sprung here, at least in Atlanta. And as you think about spring, what are some of your favorite outdoor activities?
So I love hiking. Really love hiking, actually, and running, but more hiking these days. And obviously the pool, which is fantastic. Catching up with friends. When you see the sun out, I always also go to actually that little table that you sit at with your mates, and you have a glass of white wine or a red wine. Well, white wine when it's hot. That for me, the combination of your friends and your family around you, and that one glass or whatever, I did say one glass of whatever you have, is perfect for me. I love the weather here when it's like this. Yeah.
I think we all love the way you live already. So, yeah, thank you.
As T Squared weighs in, nice intersection, pubs and procurement, sourcing quality.
Yeah,
I wonder, have you ever done any supply chain discussions or negotiations at a pub? Have you ever done that?
Of course, they're not necessarily brilliant, but yeah.
But they seem like it at the time, don't they?
It was the best conversation I'd ever had. Yeah. In fact, we had a whole supply chain when I worked in Mars. We had a whole supply chain conference at the Dublin Brewery. So you can imagine how good that was in the evening.
Wow. At the brewery.
Yeah, the brewery was fun.
I'm signed up for that one already.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk some supply chain. But look, I can verify that you are one of the most highly esteemed chief supply chain officers on the globe, because we esteem you very highly all the time. And nobody disagrees with us, Sandra. So you've done some great things at a lot of companies, Kimberly-Clark and Mars, and now at Mondelez. But what is one of your favorite aspects of what you do, or the impact that you're able to have?
Yeah, if you look at what we do in supply chain, we're the biggest people organization that there is in any company, and we sometimes don't think about it like that.
I hadn't thought about it like that. Yeah,
you look at, we've got 54,000 people in Mondelez who sit in supply chain, and supply chain, wow, procurement, manufacturing, and logistics. And I know it varies by some places, but
right,
54,000 people who sit in that area. So we have this huge responsibility to make sure we connect as well as we can through or directly with them and I love that connection, that listening, that hearing what people are doing. Even if you can't visit, which is like the last year, you can still connect virtually, and it's wonderful what people will share with you. And I think as I've matured in my career, that's the bit that really inspires me, when you see what you do impacting, hopefully positively, those people who are in your organization, and to have the privilege and the responsibility to make sure that what you do works well for 54,000 people, I think is a huge honor, and also something that I love, because together with the team, you don't do it on your own, but together with your team, you can then cascade that through. And that's probably the most important thing. And you're right, we don't think about it, often don't go with the biggest people organization, but we are.
Man, that's an awakening. You know, what's interesting is we often tout some numbers, like Harvard Business Review identified that in the US alone, 44 million supply chain professionals. As of 2018, that was 37% of the working population were in supply chain. So if you extrapolate that globally, Sandra, that's over 700 million people, potentially.
Yeah.
Now, I can't say that the numbers extrapolate directly, but let's cut it by a couple 100 million and say 500 million people around the globe are engaged in supply chain.
Yeah,
you're right, and I can't believe that never struck me like that before.
No, we just don't think, because we think about it as making, buying stuff, making stuff, selling,
moving stuff. Yeah,
and actually, it's more about the people than it is about the of course, the products and packaging and all that sort of stuff, and really important, but it's about the people. And at the other end, it's about the consumer, who happens to be a person. So if you start disconnecting it, and you look, well, what's my life really about? Well, my life's really about stuff with people. It's great, you know.
Agreed. With the team,
Yeah.
I love that phrase you used.
Absolutely.
You know, one other thing, we're talking about the global supply chain professional community. We were talking with a technology organization earlier this week, and one of their supply chain team members is doing big things, right? His educational background is in fine arts and classical arts.
Mhm.
And it really, when we sat there and talked about that for a minute, because we all win when we're bringing a wide diversity of talent and views and perspective into the industry. And it really, in that moment, it really perfectly illustrated that. So I want to shift gears. You know, Sandra, as we shit on the front end, we really enjoyed a variety of conversations with you and in some cases your teams in previous episodes. And I had a great chance to sit down with you kind of one-on-one in a private conversation and kind of hear some of the things that that's really got your attention right now. I'm sure you've got probably 7 full plates right out of camera view that you're charged with, but you really narrowed that down to 3 buckets. I'll call them. We love that phrase around here because it's a great visual.
Yeah.
The first one was diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
So shed a little leadership and perspective around this vital aspect of business and society today.
Yeah, so I'm going to start from a different place on this, and I know we've got people from around the globe who are on, I think. So, of course, anybody we know about the horrors that have happened here with African American people and now with Asian American people. But let me they're completely unacceptable, and let me put that a little bit to one side on this DEI piece as well. I have an absolutely firm belief that you won't be successful unless you as a leader are challenged, and unless you actually have people in your team who are going to challenge you but have incredible experiences, cultural or travel or work or their backgrounds that are different than yours, that they can bring to the conversation. Because it may not be over what they say, but what they'll have been through as an experience will have framed how they feel or what they do. And I think you need that, particularly as you go up through the organization and get teams to work to do what everybody thinks we should be doing. You really need to have that healthy tension, that no, I don't agree, that challenge, and you need people there who can do that. And that takes time, but that is diversity for me. And I don't want all women in my team. I don't want all men in my team. I want the shift that's the gender, that's the background, that's the cultural, that's the race. Us Brits are different than the North Americans. We say we speak the same language, but we don't, because our experiences have been different. I mean, I've tried to buy stuff in shops and it's like, whoa, okay. People listen to my accent, they don't hear what I say, which is really funny. But equally well, in America, Americans coming to England would be the same. So you need that experience so people can say, hang on, that won't work in that plant, or that won't do that. So that for me, DEI is the output is that you get a really strong, cohesive, risk facing into and not concerned or conservative. You get those conversations, and I think we're getting there. And my team is amazing, and we're getting there in my team around people just saying what they think, and that's what you need. That authenticity, that background that brings.
Love that, and we're seeing a lot more action to address that and to make it happen as you're pointing to. Greg, what's some of what you heard there?
Distinct point of view, right? When you have that diversity of culture, of thought, of gender, of race, of whatever, you get that distinct point of view of how people have lived their lives. And it's even that. I mean, it could just be that you've lived your life differently than some other white person or whatever, right? That distinct point of view is really, really important, and it's so productive, right? I was fortunate to grow up in a multicultural family anyway, so it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of second nature for me to embrace that. But I think if it's not natural for you to embrace it, enjoy the pleasure and the solution and the resolution that it can bring, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and also I just push a little bit on this one, because it's easy to recruit or work with people who think like you do. Really easy. And sometimes I have to say, I get up in the morning and I think, I wish I had a load of yes people who worked in my team. It would be so much easier. But thankfully I don't, because we get to a better solution with all the great people who work in my team, you know. But actually it takes more, it's more exciting and more rewarding to find the people that you think, gosh, that's going to rub me up a bit, but am I mature enough? Am I self-aware enough to be able to deal with that, you know, rather than they're just not going to fit because they're not going to say, they're not going to be like me or think like me. You don't want people who think like you. You want the difference. And then of course, you know, hopefully you collectively make the call on where you go. But actually maybe not, maybe in the end you have to call it. But I think that's really fun.
Yeah. Take a step back every time and say, are they right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you think about that, not presume they're wrong, say, are they right?
Yeah.
Right. And could they be right? And that's a great perspective to tackle that.
And make sure, I think the thing in that for me, I had an experience this week. We were doing some reviews on with Andrea Turner, who's my head of global logistics, and her team, who are fantastic. They're doing some amazing stuff. And there was a very small thing. I'll tell you how silly it is. There was a very small thing that they called this process that they were in and they were running, a word that I couldn't really understand, you know, in terms of how did that make it easy. So they used the word capability for a part of a process and a tool. And I was like, not sure, does that really work? And then they went through it again this week and I went, you guys were so spot on. We've got a lack of capability in this space. So you were ahead of the game on that one in terms of where you go. So I think also looping back and making sure people know that, yeah, you were right. And it might not have been a right-wrong conversation, but gosh, good for you for sticking to your guns, you know. It was really, I think that's also important as a person, particularly in supply chain, because we try so much things. Some will work and some won't, but it's okay if it doesn't, or it's okay if you get it wrong, just go back, you know.
Yeah.
So Sandra, I'm getting texts, we're getting comments on what you're sharing, just like we knew we would.
Exactly what we expected.
And we still have 2 more buckets that we're gonna work through here today. So
and then you've asked me for the 500 things that I would do as a supply chain officer.
Right.
You know,
so this is we should probably warn the community. This is going to be a 7-hour show. It's going to be like a telethon for supply chain.
There we go. Well, I'm gonna share a couple of comments really quick, but one quick aside. I know that we've shared with our community how much we love Sandra's perspective, but here for the first time live, I'm hoping they pick up on one of my favorite things about you, which is how genuine and authentic you are when you're sharing. And we don't get, you know, I'll from my point of view, we don't get that oftentimes in those senior levels of leadership. And it's like as Greg says, we're sitting around a kitchen table, you know, breaking bread, talking shop, and that is what is so genuine. Yeah, having a Guinness.
Having a Guinness, that would be good. We'll have to do that at some point, you know. Soon.
So let's share. Srinivas says supply chain management system is teamwork. You know, how you feel that working along with other professionals. I love that.
Yeah.
Let's see. I see a Peter. I'm trying to circle back to your question once we work through a couple other.
Can I just make a comment on that?
Sure.
I think it's right about the professionals, but don't forget the people in there. You know, because I think. Sometimes in that, you know, I think you're spot on, Srini. Is it Srini or yeah?
Srinivas is I may be mispronouncing it, but
no. I think you're pronouncing. Well, I don't know. It's Srinivas' his name, isn't it? But anyway, you'll tell us if we're wrong. I think you're absolutely spot on. Supply chain management system is a teamwork. It has to be, and that yes, we're professionals. Actually, I think nowadays the bigger piece is. By the time we get there, we're professionals because we've learned, and you get the job because you're doing it, you know, and you're doing it well. Otherwise, you wouldn't get it. I think the bit that's even more important now is to make the teamwork. Is that how do you work with people? You know, that people connectivity in a team. Because if you could be a bunch of professionals, but you're not talking to people in the right way, or you're not connecting as a human being, human to human, you'll miss all that, and it'll become a let's just deliver what we need to deliver, versus, gosh, how can we take this and make it exciting and fun and get more? Just to build on what you've said, Srinivas.
Well said. And Amanda Clay, I'd love to know who this LinkedIn user is, but you can feel the passion from Sandra. Completely agree. Completely agree. Todd Raines, one of Greg's dear friends, says it's a great point to take a step back and remove yourself or your viewpoint and see the bigger picture from a grander perspective. Tough to remove the ego. I completely agree, Todd.
It is, actually, Todd. That's a really great point. And actually, I think it comes, if you have to work on yourself to be able to do that, because you could fall for the nonsense of you're more senior than X, Y, and Z, and therefore, but that's just judgment. That's not actually about really trying to do anything, if you ask me. That's more about, I need to feel better than X, Y, or Z, so I'm going to feel better, and I'm more senior. I think if you can, I don't have a lot of time. Everybody's got ego, but I don't have a lot of time or space for the ego coming first through the door and the following behind, I never really have. But to get over that yourself, you have to work on, what can I let go? It doesn't really matter. I don't have to win this.
Love it. I hear sometimes this phrase, is it going to matter in 100 years? Then move on, So as Leah says, growth cannot happen within comfort. Stepping out of your own bubble of culture, influence, mindset is very uncomfortable, but it definitely adds a genuine layer to leadership. You can better help others develop in areas they might not even think they can thrive in. Excellent point there.
Completely agree. And it's even more so now with our virtual world that we've been in, that we take the time to do that and to connect even more, because by default, you can just say, how are you, and move on. But if you can go, well, tell me how you really are. How's the family? How's this? You can take that extra 2 minutes. You may get much more to connect people with as well. So I do believe more. I think that what we've been through in the last year or so, which isn't over yet, I think this will bring us more and more, thank goodness, into basically the whole EQ part of being a leader. And I think that's growing so much more, because we're clever. Human beings are really clever. If we don't feel valued for who we are, then why are we going to do anything more? I think now this is, I'm hoping, maybe not yet, but this is really key. You can be as technically brilliant as you can be, but if you can't make it work with people, then what's the point?
Love that. All right, so we've got by my count, let's see here. Let me get my math. 17 T-shirt isms already, Greg and Sandra. So I love that. If you can't do it with the people, what's the point? What is the point? Don adds, he loves what Todd Raines mentioned. The egos can definitely prevent constructive growth in an organization. Okay. So, Greg, before we move on we're going to be talking about sustainability and really taking care of the planet next. Final thought here in this really important DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusivity space.
Well, look, if you can't get over this, if you can't get over all of this diversity and equity and inclusion for any other reason, do it for selfish reasons. As Sandra just said, you will be better for it. You'll be better served for it. Your organization will be better for it. And eventually you will find in your heart, in your mind, that it is great for you. It's great for everybody else. But look, let's face it, we're selfish human beings. We are often ego and self-driven. So just try it, right? I would just encourage everyone to try it. It is so enlightening. It's so uplifting. And it's so effective.
Agreed. And it's so needed, so dearly needed. Okay, let's talk about moving from that kind of first bucket to the second one. We know that you and the Mondelez team have been dedicated to driving sustainability gains. And, in that last meeting, that one-on-one I had with you, Sandra, I can't find my notes. I misplaced them, but excellent. I think you said something
17
like
pages of notes is missing somewhere, Sandra.
The dogs. Hey, but you said it's about more than just neutral is one of the phrases I took. So talk to us about what
Yeah.
folks really need to know, and your perspective on sustainability.
Yes, definitely. Well, actually, one of the reasons I went to, one of the things that tipped me over the edge for moving to Mondelez was sustainability. Because if you look at the focus and the purpose, it's about empowering people to snack right. And when I see snack right, for me, that also means how are we making the products and how are we distributing them and how we know what's in them, all that kind of thing. So it's a huge context for me, and was something I was really interested in. And basically, you end up then making a choice on, does this meet my values? Is this actually something that I feel I can live and breathe? So that's that. You're right. It's very important in Mondelez, and we're so focused on it. We're also focused on doing it in a way, and certainly this fits with my values, authentically. So there are some great aspirational statements out there from people, and I absolutely believe that that's the right thing to do. But sometimes they're a bit too aspirational. So what's it grounded in, and what are you going to do? And for me, everybody talks about being neutral. In terms of the planet, and making sure. I actually think, and I've talked to my team a little bit about this, or not a little bit, but a lot, is how do we become a positive influencer on the planet? What can we do? And I don't mean that means we change completely our technology or our stuff, but can we, in our little microcosms that we sit in a country, can we positively give back in some shape or form through technology or whatever else there might be in terms of what we do? And then that would feel really, that's business really becoming, it's not a charity, of course, but it's something that you can feel proud of this water circulation that we did. It's now drinking water for somebody, and that's a positive step forward. So that's the way I tend to think of it. Is, and how do we go? Why would we just be neutral? Can we do anything to be positive in terms of what we do on our footprint? Because it's clearly, whatever you believe in global warming, it's clearly not. There's something not right,
Right.
It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. It doesn't hurt to do something positive.
No,
that's the way I look at it. Right?
Yeah,
is who cares about who care? I mean, of course, believe it or don't, and there are plenty of people on both sides, but it doesn't hurt to do the right thing. When I was raised, I was taught you pack out what you pack in, right? It's simple things. It's simple things. I have often called parents accidental environmentalists. Turn off the light when you leave the room. Don't leave the water running when you brush your teeth. I mean, it's simple things like that we hopefully impart to younger generations, and that they extrapolate and grow on to see the bigger impact of yet bigger things.
I'm not sure I've quite got there with my 18-year-old yet, but that light is always on.
Good luck
anymore,
but you know what? The next time they berate you for your stance on the environment, just remind them of things like that.
Leave the light on, mate. Yeah, then you can talk to me if you turn it off. Yeah,
That's
he's
right.
not living at home now anyway, but he's not. He's still pops up.
So I want to share a couple comments here. But first, you mentioned drinking water. Tomorrow, we're publishing a really neat episode with a nonprofit called Filter of Hope, and they've dedicated themselves to getting these filters that can clean even the toughest of waters around the world. And I can't remember some of the stats that they shared of the health problems and the deaths that are created from lack of good drinking water. But I want to also, on a much, much lighter note, we've got one quick follow-up question from Corinne, but I want to, on the front end, as we were talking kind of our fun questions, Sandra, I really, when I first put that together, Greg and I were going to ask you about Oreos, but you probably get asked about Oreos all the time because of sentiment like Peter's. Can we all cheers and say Oreos rock? And because they truly do. And in our episode with Quentin, we talked quite a bit about Oreos.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite? Do you? I know that healthy snacks is important too, but is there a favorite Oreo type that you have?
Oh, I like
there are Oreo types.
There are loads of Oreo types. Did you not even know we had a Lady Gaga Oreo recently?
Yes.
Oh, right. It was.
But I love
what? Yes.
normal ones, standard Oreos. I love, actually.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to go back to work now. Corinne asks a great question here. So Corinne is with, she leads our Tech Talk digital supply chain podcast. So she says many companies have narrowed their product portfolios to reduce complexity during the pandemic. Of course, we've all seen that. What are your thoughts on the timeline of a return to product innovations and new product introductions? And then as a quick follow-up, as consumers, anything else that we might watch for in some of these sustainability initiatives?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Karen. Oh, now you've taken the question off. I'll have to remember it. But
Here you go.
Okay,
Here you
thanks. So we've also, yes, absolutely. I think a lot of companies have looked at SKU rationalization, and we've done the same. What we haven't done, interestingly enough, is we haven't said no to new product innovations or, renovations of current products. We've said, yes, let's do those. But overall, we want to see a 25% reduction in SKUs, which is, it's huge. It takes time to make that happen, but we haven't done it at the cost of product innovation and new products. If we need them, then we would do them, but it has to be, we still have to attain that 25%. How do we reduce overall? Which is a nice tension, actually, for our commercial side of the business. At one point, they wanted supply chain to manage that. And I made the point very clearly, it's not my baby, this one. You create them and you kill them. I just make them here. I really do just make them with my 54,000 people, whatever, Right. So I can't take the decision to rationalize that. And you need to own that in the business units. And that's been really, really good, actually. And the business units are seeing the benefit of doing that. So yeah, we just haven't done it at the cost of. It's just that we haven't moved away from the 25% reduction and said it has to happen overall. And then what should you watch for in the sustainability initiative? Well, we're pushing hard in Mondelez, if it's Mondelez that you mean, and we're looking at wellness, and we're looking, that then means in terms of, we're looking at what's, making sure the products are exactly as we would want them to be in terms of empowering people to snack right, and that we're doing it right in that way. So a lot of work on making sure that we're creating those products that the consumer would want. And then also on the packaging side, we've made some commitments externally as well, on recycling and plastic use. And we've got to 2025, I think, and we move to a whole new world on what we do with plastics and become recyclable, so that we don't have anything that's that people wouldn't be able to not throw away, but to actually use again. And that's huge if you think of a lot of the CPG suppliers and manufacturers. So that's another one. We're also working on water, making sure that we're minimizing, particularly in water stressed areas. How do we make sure that we're doing the right thing in that space? And of course, there's the CO2 piece as well, that we're revising our targets at the moment, to say what's our commitments. We've already made a commitment anyway to be much less than the 2%. I think we're below, and we're not at 1, but we're below the 2, and we're looking at where does this take us to then for our 2030, 2040 view. But again, things that we know how to do, not aspirations that we believe we can fix in our lifetime, not 2080, as you were saying, Greg, because I don't know about you, but I wouldn't be signing up for that, because I can just blame somebody else, or I can say whatever and walk away, and that's not fair.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share a couple comments, and Greg, I'm going to circle back to you and get your take on what Sandra has shared. Azalea says, agree with that, Sandra. We reach so far to try and make change, but positivity can be shared right where we are in everything we do. Excellent point there. Yeah. Rhonda shares our sentiment. Wonderful message today from Sandra. She's a beautiful spirit speaking an important language. How about that? Oh, where'd that comment go?
Thank you.
See, sometimes they come and go really quick here. Let me finish that.
I may have done that. Sorry.
That's okay.
Did you not like it, Greg? I like it.
It's live. No, it's a
thank you.
A lot of chefs in the kitchen. Glad to be listening. Good vibe feelings for all. And then let's see here. Anna Mary. Great to see you, Anna Mary. Came in a little late. Have to check out a little early, but thank you, Supply Chain Now, and Sandra for the content. So great to have you here. And I'm not sure who typed this in our team, but we agree. You can really feel the authenticity and positivity. Such a lovely human, in addition to supply chain leader. Excellent. Excellent. Peter.
I think so I was just going to say, sorry, you go with Peter Bong.
No, go ahead. Peter just loves your gluten-free Oreos. So.
Yes, they're just out, aren't they? They're not that long. And oh my goodness, the response we had from the gluten-free or the allergy part was just brilliant. And it shows you can do something that it takes a while to get there, but gosh, what a brilliant thing to empower people to snack right. This is where we go, whoa, yeah, we're doing some good.
Right.
And to the comments about I think what we do and the functions that we're in are just magical. And if we can, and I think people are amazing. And if we go with a positive point of view that there's a positive intent in there, and of course it's not always that way, so I'm not naive, and then I just decide to avoid that piece of it if I can, because if it doesn't serve me well, why am I bothering, So I think that in that positivity piece, if you can't fix it, let it go and do what's right for you, even if, because they talk about resiliency and they talk about, excuse my language, but shit happens. So just accept that happens. And then, okay, how do you see the positive through it? If there's a positive, right. And there's always a positive, even in the darkest times, there's always a positive through it. And then don't listen. The bit that's been really helpful for me, if it helps people, is if something isn't making you feel good or something you're reading isn't making you feel positive, don't read it. Mm-hmm. Don't look for it, because it's all about, if you can just get your head to let me look positively rather than spend all the time in that dark well of, everything's going to go wrong, then of course it will. But yes. If you can just look further forward, then why not?
On a related note, I came across a German proverb earlier this week. Fear makes the wolf bigger than he or she is.
Yeah.
And on a related note, we can get in these mental traps sometimes and get outside of reality and make any problems or negativity much bigger than what they are. So love what you're sharing, Sandra. Okay, Greg, I know you're dying to. There's so much.
I'm dying to get in here. Yes. So a couple things. A couple of tidbits of wisdom I've heard. One of them may have actually been a country song, but I'm sure they co-opted it from somewhere else. One is, don't admire the problem, right? Yeah. We talk about that a lot in problem solving, but if you're in an area of negativity, don't sit and admire the problem, right? Move on.
Yeah.
If you're going through hell, keep on going.
Exactly, because there's a bit on the other side. Whatever it is, it's going to be better than what you're in.
Yeah,
so,
that's right.
I'm fully on to that one,
And to go back to the point, this discipline that you all have instilled, Sandra, is something that I have been railing for and against in retail and brands for, well, we're limited to around 2 decades. And that is this discipline of rationalizing SKUs, not as you say, not stopping innovation, but creating a trade-off that says, if we want this, then this has to go. As merchandisers, as merchants, as product placement, product strategy people, we're terrible at getting rid of products that need to go away, because it could come back. It could come back. Yeah. Right? It hasn't been good. It's been at the bottom of our list for 27 years, but it could come back.
Yeah. And they do.
And now to have instilled that discipline.
They just pop up, don't they? This is like,
yeah. To have instilled that discipline is important. And I think it, as much as it is SKU rationalization, it at least stems the tide of SKU proliferation, which has been a huge problem in retail with brands and with retailers themselves for decades. And we don't need 40 flavors of Oreo. Frankly, I'm happy with one, and I know you got to market to all types of people, and it's important for the growth of the company. But that discipline is important, and I hope that more companies hear what you said there. You don't have to stop innovation to limit your SKU proliferation.
If I made it sound too easy, it's not, because the business units are all, it's not what they really want to do, because every SKU are their babies. So it's not easy to do at all. But I think, and actually, my boss Derek has been absolutely resolute in this one, and not. So I think you need to have all of the organisation lined up to make it happen.
Yeah.
Don't stop innovating. You don't. You keep in. Look at Lady Gaga came out while we were already reducing the number of SKUs we had. So you don't stop if there's a really good reason to go there. And that was that's almost a renovation. but you don't allow them to proliferate. Because I don't, as a consumer, I don't know about you, I sometimes walk down, I don't know which one to have. There's too many. I don't mean Oreos, but I mean, any product.
Yeah.
How do I know? How can there be so many different types of ginger? It makes no sense.
Right. Olive oil, whatever, right?
Well, they're more expensive. Well, am I kind of consumer that needs to pay more for olive oil, or does it just cook in the pan, sort of stuff?
Right. Does it need to be extra virgin olive oil? Does it really need to be that? Is it even?
Yeah.
Is it even extra, right? But I think that, that what that creates, though, is it creates an interaction, because, as you said, you don't own the product, but boy, can the supply chain organization provide a ton of data to allow a merchant or a product strategist to make a decision around a product. That interaction is so powerful. Yeah. And I think that opens up that diversity of thought, even within the organization, to share with one another and to identify the right things to get rid of and the right things to add.
I agree.
All right. So we've got one more bucket to get to, talent development. We're going to touch on that in just a second. But I've got a question for you. And Sandra, if you can't speak to this, by all means, no worries. But Simon, on any given day, the last 20 days, the Ever Given captivated the world's attention, right? So Simon poses this question, were there any Mondelez supply chain impacts related to the Suez blockage? Anything you can share there?
Yeah, we've been fortunate, I think, actually, as opposed to others have been. We were monitoring it incredibly closely. Actually, Quentin, who you know in my team, he was monitoring it through his team on the procurement piece in terms of supply. We haven't seen anything yet. But of course, there's a ripple effect going through after the debacle that was poor Suez. I really feel, and I hear it was human error, so that's even more disturbing, isn't it? Really, because they've got processes and procedures to follow. So that's an interesting one for them to actually.
And a canal pilot. On the vessel, right? So
I don't want to be on the other side of the table on that investigation, but that's okay.
Right.
We haven't, Simon. We haven't been not yet, but it can take a bit of time to ripple through, obviously, and it's more from the raws and packs piece that we were looking at, because obviously that's a great quick route through to Europe and vice versa. But so far, nothing that's come to my attention. There may be some small pieces, but nothing that's been serious enough to come up to me.
I appreciate you. And Simon, great question. Brent, thanks for weighing in on that. I want to share a couple comments, and we're going to keep driving to talent. I want to share this. Mahesh, great to see you, Mahesh, once again. He says discipline and character, very important in a person. It helps us to achieve anything. I completely agree with you there. Mm-hmm. And Travis Turner is with us here today from Higher Dynamics. Great to see you, Travis. Going back to SKU rationalization, he says it's the Chick-fil-A concept with SKU rationalization. They have a limited menu. Add something requires getting rid of something. And they do all right as a business last time I checked.
Exactly. Exactly. Less choice, but better choices. Yeah. Exactly.
All right. So let's talk about one of our favorite topics around here. Actually, all these are, but talent. And Sandra, in our prep call, you shared with me how you view all supply chain practitioners, but senior leaders. It's a responsibility when it comes to developing and grooming the next talent's gonna come in and do even bigger things than we're doing now. So Sandra, speak a little bit about talent development, how you view that.
Yeah, so I think it's a partnership, actually. Sometimes people will come in and say, develop me, and you're like, that's not how it is. You've got to want to go there yourself, and I think it splits into the work experience piece and then the personal development work, because you can move job rotations, and we've got career roadmaps that we give to people, in terms of where they can go and what they can do. That's the technical part. The bit that people really have to partner with is that partnership on your personal development, and it takes a long time. It's a really scary place to go when you start going and looking at this, because you have to face some demons of what you did well or what you didn't do well, or what's actually been driving you, and that can be quite like, whoa, really? Am I? And there's no weirdness about it. It's just once you can start doing something with it. So I think it's a partnership. Don't come in to be developed. join in and look at how you think you need to develop, and don't blame people. It's not it's just because you're not getting what you want. If it's constant that you're not getting it, surely it's the you, not the environment, and I've got, people that you know who they always blame the environment that they're in. And you go, it can't be 4 times out of 4. It's got to be something around the development you need. And that for me is wonderful when you see people growing and just building their confidence to be able to try things differently. And I think really important in that is having people who will tell you the honest, in a caringly candid way. And I use that really carefully, because lots of people think you need to be brutal. No, you need to be caringly candid and then support people on the way. And I think if you can get to that place, then you can help people to continue to develop. And after a while, if they choose not to, then that's the choice they make. Because again, it's choice. You choose to go there or you don't. And if you choose, I mean, if any of the people on this call choose, gosh, what courage you've got, because it is hard to do. And you have to look in the mirror and just go, yeah, okay, I'm not perfect. I've got some stuff that I've really screwed up on, and I've hurt some people. So let me go and sort this out. And also on the other side, I've done really well, and I've loved some people, and it's all worked. But you've got to face into the other bit. So talent management, talent development. I think that you're right to call it talent development. Is about both sides, the work side, and then the how do you get stuff done, and do you care enough? I do think that's coming out more and more and more, because I know the leaders I've worked for that I've loved working for, they I feel the care. I don't mean that they're looking after me or putting me in a nappy or I don't mean that at all. But I mean they can see, or they ask how are you, and they really want to hear. It's not just tick the box and move on. And I know there are people I've worked for that it's about the numbers. It's not about me. And then you can make a choice. Yeah.
Did you say a nappy?
Yeah.
Yeah. There she goes, speaking a foreign language again.
A diaper.
Gotcha. I'm a little bit slow sometimes.
No, you're not. You don't use the word here at all. But nappy is a UK. We always use them.
Love it.
Yeah.
So, also love this comment here from our team. You've got 54,000 partnerships.
That's beautiful,
Sandra.
And that's how I see it. And I think also that piece about I really do believe that, yes, through hard work and whatever, you get to where you are, but at the same time, you're just another person just doing a different job. So why wouldn't you go and talk to other people who've had different knowledge or whatever, and yet they may be not at the same level as you, or they may be higher than you, but they're still people. We're all still doing the same things that people do. So there's a little bit of that in that too, that I love, just connecting with people.
Travis adds, very well put, Sandra. Talent development is a partnership. It doesn't get more simple than that. Agreed, Travis. Good stuff there. And by the way, I should correct myself, or I was corrected. This came from one of the participants, one of the community members, Kai, I believe. Kai, if I'm pronouncing that right. So excellent point there. And Aaron adds to that, going something you said earlier, less choice, but better choice.
Yeah.
She loves that quote. All right. So Sandra, we're approaching the top of the hour. If I may, I don't put you on the spot. You got a couple extra minutes. We got a couple questions.
Sure.
Is that okay?
No, I've checked. I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Can I give you a simple man's takeaway from what Sandra just said there?
Please.
When you think about talent development, I have to think of things, Sandra, in very simple terms. And it's, some of what you said there, this is not the totality of it, but one of the things that really struck me is the associate has to come with the want to, and the management has to come with the how to, right? In addition to the caring, of course. But if you think about it, if somebody comes to a company with I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to do, I want to be better, whatever, I want to perform well. And management comes with here's how you do that. Here's how we break down barriers to allow you to do that. Here's how we teach you what you need to know to do that. I mean, that is just such a powerful and simplistic message. So I really appreciate you saying it that way. And that's kind of my interpretation of some of what you said there.
Yeah, thank you. No, I firmly believe in it,
I love it. I love it. David says different viewpoints are going to see different details.
Yeah,
exactly.
So if you could weigh in here, this is a great question, and we've seen this for quite some time, especially as we've moved to the digital recruiting landscape, right? I think I read somewhere not too long ago that recruiters have 7 seconds to review resumes just because of the plethora of them.
That's really
So as Leah says, hey, what do we do about job seekers' trauma? It's real. I honestly feel I had it, and it's a common thing. It's I guess she's saying it's more common with this online process when it comes to recruiting. Sandra, any comments or any challenges you'd like to pose to all of our wonderful HR and talent leaders out there?
Yeah, I'm sorry that you felt that way as well, actually, because that shouldn't be the experience. But I guess when you've got so many thousands of people at some point, I think my insight would be we need to make sure that we don't treat people like machines, and actually, and I'm not opening myself. Please don't everybody do this, but one of the things that works is that I've seen is if going in on rather than going to the recruiters, but going to the websites for companies and looking at those, you're more likely to get a connection with that. And also, if you have people in the company that or you're linked in with or whatever, then sending the resume or CV or cover letter to them and asking them to forward it on your behalf into the company makes it more personal. Because I think you're right. I mean, I've had calls with headhunters and actually sometimes, and I had one recently that I wasn't absolutely clearly not interested in, but it was all, wow, you're going to earn more money. And I said, then you don't understand people. This isn't just about money, and I thought, how do you know anyway? Because you don't know how much they earn, whatever. But you then go, this is not about, you need to know the individual if you're going to make those kind of statements, particularly if you're knocking on the door of people, So I think there is it becomes like a routine if you're not careful. So I would find a different way. If you know a company whose values that you really appreciate and you think that would work with yours, then either find a way in through people that you know in that company, or go to that website. Or if the worst comes to the worst and you see somebody who's more senior in that company, I've had people, please don't do this, but I've had people do this where they sent me their CV and cover letter and said, I'm really keen to work and I just don't know how to get there. And then I can forward it for you, but I can't help you in the process. The process still needs to take place. But, there's other ways around it versus that, I think. And actually, if it does feel like it's a machine, maybe it's the wrong place to go, because then that's not about you, and what are you going to bring? And I really would absolutely say, make sure that you make the decision about working for the boss you're going to get, not the boss, because you'll be stuck with that boss. And if it's not the right person, you'll just leave again. And at some point that doesn't help your CV or your resume. But you're as much part of that choice about where you go and what company and what people you work for.
So, Greg, I know you want to comment on that. I want to just add on that last thought that Sandra added. For 20 years, we have tried through associations and what we're doing here to connect people, right? And we've all been there looking for that next opportunity, right? But I think a really important thing, and I'm not throwing stones at anyone. I've spent time recruiting and I've spent time as a job seeker. But, owning your job search, putting the time, investing into what those cover letters or resumes or what the outreach looks like, really customizing it.
Yeah.
Creating a short list of the companies that you really would love to work for, and then tailoring that communication to them, and not just to the HR and the talent teams, but to any other connections you can make on LinkedIn to see how you might can triangulate and get your at bat. I think that's really important. And as Leah, hey, I've all been there. We've all experienced that. The black hole that sometimes can be, the recruiting process. So I feel your pain, and we'll all try to break through together. Greg, what were you going to add to that?
You said a lot of it, and so did Sandra. But just again, some simple axioms. Don't earn your next job. Network your way to your next job. And as so many people say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And again, I will say this again. That's 180 degrees wrong. It's not who you know. It's who knows you and who knows the value that you can provide to an organization. So know people and have those people that know you. help you get to the next level.
And honestly, companies like Mondelez, any of the 3 companies I've worked for, Kimberly-Clark, Mars, those kind of companies, we want brilliant talent. So if you're brilliant talent, or if you haven't been able to prove you're brilliant talent, but I'm not going to turn away somebody because I just don't know them. I might not have a job at the moment, but I can put that person into the machine, if that's the right word, which is not a machine, because I've just said
Right.
into a machine, but you can put it into the, and you don't endorse it, because that's not fact. You don't know the person, but it becomes a human being that goes into the system.
Yep.
Rather than a name and a CV. And I think that's hugely important, because we want the how as well as the what, Yeah.
Well said. All right, so we're going to pose one more question to you here. We really appreciated your time and your flexibility, and as you see the messages, folks are just eating up what you're sharing with a spoon here today. Peter posed this question twice. I'm gonna. He really
wants an answer to this question.
Right. So, and he's a wonderful member of our community, wonderful professional. So he's got a question: as an executive VP, how do you go about identifying great thinkers within your organization to promote and move forward? Do you rely solely on senior management or take initiative from your level?
I'm not sure I fully understand the piece around, do I rely solely on senior management or take an initiative from my
There's
level?
not much management more senior than you, is there?
Oh no, gosh, no. I mean, I love my boss.
I don't mean old, but
no,
I mean,
no, I know what you mean. Yeah, no, I don't rely on senior management at all. If anything, I mean, that's the last. That for me is more about the last tick in the box of, is the fit just right, and is the CEO okay with it? Because most of the roles that you get are pretty, like when Quentin came in as the CPO, that's a huge job that sits in my org, obviously, but they're going to be interacting with the CEO and everyone else. So that's the last piece in it. I use my own initiative or my own intuition with what I see, first of all. And if I think about the people who I've brought in, I've known them before they've come in, or I've known about them before they've come in. So being educated in, being clear about what you want, and then being clear about who that could make that happen. And even if it means waiting for a while, I would just stick to your guns on that one and sort of do that. So I think that's probably the key bit. And then my boss will tell me if he doesn't like them, of course, but he's also very good at saying this is his point of view, but it doesn't mean that you don't do it, because you might see something else that's in there. So I own the positions, and I own the people, putting people into, I own whether it works or not, in that partnership around talent development. And so far it's been okay. But and in fact, out of my last job, one of my team was promoted into my role, and that's just like, you want to hit the sky with that one and go, gosh, because he'd worked so hard and he did so well, and finally gets the recognition, but you've been part of that journey, which I think you have to use your intuition as well as them ticking all the boxes on the technical stuff, if that helps.
Love that so much. So much to focus on here today. So much goodness, Sandra. Really appreciate all the time. We've enjoyed each of your appearances here. You've been so gracious, and clearly, as you can see, it's not just me and Greg and our team. You see it in the comments. Folks really appreciate where you come from and how you deliver it, and just how open you are. So one final question: how can folks connect with Mondelez and learn more about all the great things y'all got going on there?
Yeah, so I've just done my 10 things that a supply chain officer does. Did you not want to go on for another hour?
Let's do it.
Absolutely. I'll take as much time as we can get from you.
Yes, if you've got 7 minutes or 7 hours, we will take it. So please do share with the community what you would hope that they would take away from this.
Yeah. Well, and even if you're going into a chief supply chain officer job, the first thing I would do is is work out or understand what you're walking into in terms of what is the supply chain definition in the company, and does it meet your definition? So we have all sorts of things, like in my organization, it's procurement, manufacturing, logistics, health and safety, and quality and engineering. But in others, it's not. So know what you're walking into in terms of that definition, because sometimes the title can be misleading, and also it may be a different view that people have of what they're going to get from the job. So I would definitely do that first. Know what you're walking into, in terms of what the org is and how much freedom do you have within that org to do what you believe is important. Then when you're in, I would listen and talk to as many people as you can all over the place, and say nothing. Say nothing. It's really hard sometimes, but just say nothing and just let it all go in, because it might not be right, but it's a point of view that you can work out what actually is going on. Because what you'll get is everything's brilliant as you walk in. You know, what you might see as you listen and talk to people and hear is, here's where I can make a difference. Here's where I can make a difference. So you can really work out what you can bring as a leader, and as well as a supply chain professional, to the game. You know, that would be the second thing I would say. And the third one, which is connected to that one, would be, and don't take everything at face value. People will want to tell you how brilliant it is and how brilliant they are, and they should be able to do that. And underneath it, there'll be some reds there that actually are underneath the greens, and you need to know what the reds are, because you then need to know this could be another place where you can go and help fix it. And I've had that experience time and time again, where people tell you how brilliant it is, and you go, yes, it is, and it's supply chain, so you're not going to be 100% brilliant because we're supply chain. So where do we go to fix how do we talk about the things that aren't working, and then how do we fix them? So that would be another one. And then when you know that, so you have to roll up your sleeves and find out stuff as well. It's not all going to come to you, because it will be filtered, you know. So also know that, and be conscious about take away the filter. And you don't have to tell people, you don't have to, you know, you're not doing the inquisition, but just gently asking those questions, you'll get so much. And then once you know that, I would set out the strategy of what do you think you can deliver differently? So I know that from my predecessor, he's a great guy, and we're very different. So that you can see the differences that you can bring, whilst respecting the past, which is hugely important, because the past brought you to where it is now. Excellent. How do you build on that? Because you're not there to tell people what was wrong. You're there to say, okay, this is brilliant, and then how do I fix these bits, or how do I move into these pieces to continue the work that you've done? Great. And then how do we build on that as we move forward? Because otherwise you'll lose the team that were there before as well. And also there is some brilliant stuff that's gone on. So that would be another one. And then as you've built your strategy out and understood what it is, you organize and you measure to deliver it. So what are the right measures? And it won't be the measures that you had before. And you may have tier 1 and tier 2 metrics, and the tier 2 or even tier 3, and they feed up to those, I don't know, 8 or 10 that you want to be held accountable for. But you can feed those up to be able to show progress. But you organize as well to make that happen. And, you know, be caringly ruthless about the right people in your team, because you don't help anybody if you've got the wrong person in that job. You don't help the person in the job, their team, or even the wider organization. So you can, and that doesn't mean you fire people, you can just move them to where they're better suited. And there's lots of that in my experience, and people feel better because they almost breathe out when they realize they're in the right role. So the talent and making sure you can be caringly ruthless in a very nice way, I think it then sets you up with the right team to be able to execute what you want to do on that your strategy. And don't let them call supply chain a cost bucket.
Amen.
We are an enabler to top line and bottom line. So keep that in your head, unless you believe we're a cost bucket, and then of course you should just say we're a cost bucket. But let's keep communicating that last piece is keep communicating your view and your vision. And I always talk about the consumer, and people go, well, your supply chain. Yeah, but who are we making stuff for, you know, and who are all my team doing things for, you know? So actually making humanizing that is really, really important. And educating the world on the power that supply chain can bring if we're enabled and measured on all of the holistic metrics, I think will really make your life just so much more fun, but also really, really rewarding. And that's what, and sometimes it's really hard because people want to take you back to show me the bottom line. And you go, yes, I will. And that's the right of entry. But what about all this great work on service and quality and people and cash and, and there's just so many other pieces that we do. So that would be probably what I would say. And the final bit, have the courage to say no if you don't really believe in it. And you can say no very nicely, but you can still say no. I don't agree. And then you have the conversation. If you certainly at the chief supply chain officer, if you're just going to say yes, there'll be things you don't agree with, and that's okay constructively to put that on the table and just say, look, I'm not in that place at all. And you don't have to make it a fight. You can just declare where you are.
And I would add, you've got to say no. It's not even optional.
No.
Right? If you say yes to everything, you'll never get anything done, and you won't be served. Your team won't be well served.
Yeah.
So really, it's a tough thing.
Yeah.
Speaking from personal experiences, it's
really
terribly difficult to say no. But so as you can see, we've got a lot of comments here. I like what Corinne says. Buzzer beater. Thanks for the list, Sandra. Really appreciate that. Todd, thanks so much for your insight, positive outlook, and taking time to share with us. Because Todd, a great call out. Time is our most valuable, and Sandra has given us well over an hour. So really do appreciate. And that was pull the curtain back a little bit. Greg said, "Hey, by the way, at 11:58, hey Sandra, you want to put together a top 10 list if you would?" And gosh, just like that.
Yeah.
So I love it, Sandra. Really appreciate. So that magical question, folks know plenty of your products, but where can folks go?
Yes. Sorry, I wasn't avoiding it, I promise.
No. That was good stuff. That was, all of it has been, but I appreciate you assembling that list.
Yeah.
But how can folks learn a lot more about things maybe they don't even know yet about Mondelez?
Yeah, so we're pretty much everywhere on LinkedIn. I would definitely connect with LinkedIn, and our websites. Our website is normally pretty up to date, and I would go in on there, and again, just knowing people in that organization, you'll get a feel for who we are. And if you want to have a look at us, then we're always on the lookout for talent. So don't be shy about putting it forward. I think that would be, and we're pretty good. Sometimes I know we mess up, but we're pretty good at coming back even. And if I hear about it, I've had people say, I just haven't heard anything. And I go, guys, can we just, but please, I don't want to have 550,000
applications on your
More partnerships.
Yeah, if you go to the website first, then that's cool, but we're a lot in the media. And we're pretty open about what we do, authentic, hopefully, in terms of what we're going to do.
Well, Sandra inspires all of us on so many different levels, but this was a key point that someone captured, and I'm not sure who this was, Clay or Amanda. If you could let us know, keep communicating your vision, even when you think no one's listening, even if you're on your 900th iteration, keep at it, persevere, because that's how you break through. So really appreciate you sharing that, and it's a great call out there.
Just add one thing, I'm sorry, because you need to keep communicating, because people have got so much information going on, and actually they may not hear it. So I just I got annoying ad nauseum around consumer at the center of what we do. And what does that mean? Well, here you go, this is what it means, and you have to keep saying it. I don't mean strap lines, because they have to be with integrity, but you have to. Don't underestimate the power of communication, because we do sometimes, and we have a lot of it. So, make sure it's targeted. Sorry.
Great. No, great point, especially in this remote environment, whereby if you got 100 emails, 8 months ago, you might be getting, 10,000 emails these days. And to your point, Sandra, you can get lost in the shuffle, and folks may not be disagreeing or even ignoring you. They may not have ever gotten what you were communicating. So, what a wonderful, 74 minutes spent with the one and only Sandra McQuillen, EVP and Chief Supply Chain Officer with Mondelez International. Sandra, thanks so much. We look forward to reconnecting over that pint of goodness, Guinness in person soon. And Greg, I don't want to steal sign off here, what else would you share with Sandra?
Thank you. I mean, I think you just laid out the keys to success for the current and the next generation of chief supply chain officers. If you know nothing else as a chief supply chain officer, listen to the last 10 minutes of this, because that is a powerful formula for success. So thank you very much. I don't know what else to say.
Thank you, Greg.
I'm dumbfounded, which is rare. So.
Well, Sandra, thanks so much. We look forward to reconnecting soon. This has been, you always deliver. It's one of those things we talk about. I think with several other handful of guests, it's always better than advertised. So have a wonderful rest of your week, and we look forward to reconnecting soon with Sandra McQuillen, EVP and Chief Supply Chain Officer with Mondelez International. Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you too. Great to talk to you both.
Yeah, likewise.
You never know when that swoosh is coming. You never know. I want to get that last.
Yeah. I know. You almost have to stop short, leave a little bit of a gap there.
Man, she's always on fire, but clearly between our notes and our commentary, what we thought was really important that she shared, and of course all the great comments. I couldn't get to all of them. I'll tell you, one individual, the same individual captured this and two or three others. This is, I think it's Kai. I think I've got his name.
I think maybe so, but
yeah.
Sometimes LinkedIn blocks us from certain users for some reason.
Yes, but to Kai, keep coming back and keep sharing, all of y'all. But I loved your call outs here today. And we had a bunch of really good ones. Enrique is with us, leader of Logistics with Purpose and Supply Chain Now in Espanol. It all comes down to communication, especially direct, old-fashioned, human to human. Good point there. All right, so I know we're over, folks. Thanks for sticking with us. That was certainly well worth it. Big thanks to Sandra McQuillen for joining us today, especially with as much as she and the team have going on. Several full plates, probably just out of view of our camera. Y'all check out supplychainnow.com. We're working really hard to serve as the voice of global supply chain, featuring leaders, no nonsense, action-based leaders, just like Sandra McQuillen with Mondelez. Greg, your last word before I sign off.
Gosh, there's just so much. First of all, I really do believe that what she gave in the last few minutes is a formula for success for any chief supply chain officer. Frankly, any executive or leader needs to consider those things as they go forward. And I think about what the discussion we had just yesterday about Gartner. I'm thinking they must have just asked Sandra how to make chief supply chain officers successful, because she just gave us 7 of their 10, right? So obviously she's got her finger on the pulse of these things. I can't get over the fact that she's a very caring person. I don't know if you noticed, she called out everyone's name who asked her a question. That caring is genuine. She is incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly insightful. She's obviously got the supply chain gifts, somehow managed to dodge the Ever Given bullet. There's just so much to learn here. I don't know. You can probably tell I'm struggling. I don't know what else there is to say, except that she is the best chief supply chain officer I have ever met.
Powerful words coming from the one and only Greg White, talking about the one and only Sandra McQuillen. So we are big fans, but now in a live manner, for those of you that haven't caught Sandra keynoting here or speaking there, or you see why. I mean, it's right here. So thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for all the comments and interaction that really makes our day. Big thanks again to Sandra. Big thanks to the folks behind the scenes making it happen. Amanda, Clay, and Allie. Thanks so much for all that y'all do. Greg, pleasure to do it. Hey, on behalf of our entire team here, everybody, hope this finds you well. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Hey, do good. Give forward. Be the change that's needed. Be just like Sandra McQuillen. And on that note, we'll see you next time here at Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.